Humanitarian Bennet Charles is calling for compassion and humanity to prevail in light of COVID-19. News of the treatment and subsequent escape of Saint Lucians in quarantine, given their travel from countries affected by COVID-19, provided much fodder for debate on social media platforms on the weekend. Video footage of disgruntled and agitated nationals expressing their frustration with being subject to the 14-day quarantine protocol went viral. Law enforcement sources revealed to News Force that riot police was summoned at the last minute after word from the boat ferry from Martinique that nationals separated based on travel history had intermingled. The actions were in direct defiance of explicit social distancing policy. This was said to have roiled passengers who had to be escorted by riot police at the ports.
We need to ensure that we keep remembering that these are human beings. The humanitarian approach is the critical thing. I could guarantee you that, Solange, that currently the 100 persons that are in quarantine facility are not receiving the needed psychological support. I can guarantee you that they're not receiving it. I can tell you that most likely these persons are not being able to say, I'm feeling. Imagine you take someone and you lock them up for 14 days. They cannot leave their room. What are you providing to them psychologically to assist them? Some of them have never been in that situation before. They're feeling like prisoners. They are going to retaliate. The worst thing you could do is to deal with them as a criminal. Don't forget people's humanitarian aspect. That is one of the most important, and we need to keep remembering that at the end of the day.
He insists the leaders at the forefront of receiving returning nationals should have been the Saint Lucia Red Cross and medical personnel, with RSLPF providing cover. Moreover, Charles went on to commend community members who persuaded the returning nationals who fled the Rodney Bay facility to quarantine to return.
But I'm happy that the communities, I can tell you in one community, the persons went across and they had a conversation. And they called a reputable person within the medical fraternity to bring the person in. Because they understood, one, because of the community that they were from and the history of the police with the community, the police was not the best option. The best option was the community themselves taking action.
Despite the high risk associated with the actions of the returning nationals, Charles insists that history should be the island's guide.
We cannot rule out people's human dignity when we're dealing with this. The moment we start to do that, we'll lose the battle. We've seen it happen during the breakout of HIV, and it's going to happen again if we do not learn the lessons that came out of the HIV epidemic. And we're going to just be repeating it. So I do hope that I employ the Prime Minister and NIMAC to rethink the approach. Yes, it is great to have a quarantine facility, but how you manage it is the most important thing.
Charles calls for compassion and humanity while the island grapples to get the COVID-19 crisis under control. Solange Alfred, HTS News Force.